Shalom. So on the Iran protests, let me just bring you up to speed with what's currently happening. Women have been at the forefront of the protests, obviously sparked by the death of Mahsa Amini. If you guys haven't been following, check it out. In his first public comments, the supreme leader said about the unrest, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, riots were engineered by Iran's arch enemies and their allies. The protests are the biggest challenge to his rule for a decade. He urged security forces to be ready for more. He's actually sent his son and their family out via Dubai to Toronto. Why Canada's accepting them and letting them take refuge there is beyond me. I would have just right there locked them up, but anyway. The US said it was appalled by the violent response to the protests. President Joe Biden said he was gravely concerned. Sorry, anything that comes out of his mouth is funny at this stage. About reports of intensifying violent crackdowns on peaceful protesters. Those protesters were calling for just and universal principles, adding that the US stands with Iranian women who were inspiring the world with their bravery. Mahsa Amini, a 22-year-old Kurdish woman, fell into a coma hours after being detained by the morality police on 13 September in Tehran for breaking the law requiring women to cover their hair with a hijab or scarf. She died 3 days later. Okay. Addressing a graduation ceremony of police and armed forces cadets on Monday, the supreme leader said, Miss Amini's death broke our hearts. But what is not normal is that some people, without proof or an investigation, have made the streets dangerous, burned the Quran, removed hijabs from veiled women, and set fire to mosques and cars. The Ayatollah, who has the final say on all state matters, asserted that foreign powers had planned the rioting because they could not tolerate Iran attaining strength in all spheres. I see clearly that these riots and the insecurity were engineered by America and the occupying false Zionist regime, Israel, as well as their paid agents with the help of traitorous Iranians abroad. Iran Human Rights, a Norway-based group, has said at least 133 people have died so far, killed by security forces, and 40 more have died, reported in the state media. The US has already imposed sanctions on Iran's morality police, and President Biden said this week his administration would impose further costs on those perpetuating violence against peaceful protesters. Then Prince Reza Pahlavi, son of the last Iranian Shah, would be the new leader if a regime change took place, which is what they're pushing for. The rioters are now saying they want a complete regime change. That's it, nothing less. Now, if they got that change somehow, with help or on their own, then Prince Reza Pahlavi would be the guy. Now, the interesting thing about him is he did a whole interview with Israeli journalists now recently in the last 48 hours, and he seeks peace, economic and cultural ties with Israel. Isn't it interesting how everything seems to be coming to a deal that can be brokered or strengthened in the days ahead between Israel and her enemies? But we'll wait and see. I mean, this can go in so many directions, and these people have nuclear weapons of that, I'm sure. But yeah, very interesting. Keep your eyes on this. Pray for the victims and the innocent woman and so on, suffering and leading the forefront of this attack against that regime. And just that God will help those who need help, and that we will see what we need to see in the whole situation, because everything is unfolding really quickly in front of us. God bless. Shalom.